could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn.
Hello and welcome to the Smite Draft League. We've got Divine Division on tap today. I'm Anthony Malum and I've got Jeeringlamb with me, who's on his casting arc. How you doing, Jeering? Are you ready for the Divine Division to blow us away?
I'm ready for some sick gameplay. You know what they say. Another day, another play.
Another day, another play. And this is an exciting one. We get to see Sanctified from Divine for the very first time. So far, both of their sets have been pushed back, so we get to see what they've got for the first time this season. On the other side, they're going against Sunbreakers, who has had two really impressive weeks so far leading into this week 3 set.
I think they've definitely got a lot to make up for here. As you just said, Sunbreakers have already played 2 games. Well, technically 4. They've played 2 sets. The Sanctified team has not had that time at all. So they've got a lot of ground to be covering here tonight. We'll see. Have they been preparing, or have they just been slacking off?
Yeah, that's kind of the catch-22 of it, right? We talked a lot about during week 1, the teams were just getting to know each other. They hadn't had a lot of time for scrims, and that week 1 game was kind of rough. Well, if you didn't play in week 1 and in week 2, if you used that time to get to know each other, get some scrims in, even get some casuals in just to work on the synergy, it's going to be significantly different than if you, like you said, you slacked off, you didn't play together much, and now this is really your first time testing the waters. It could be a disaster pretty quickly. Bands wise, they're looking good. They're looking on par. So we'll see if that leads into it. And with the first lock in being a Maui, that shows that they're up to date with the meta, at least.
Oh, absolutely. And I do gotta love seeing the Tiamat ban as the final in the top 3. The last time I was casting, I watched Zartsith in the Immortal division run Tiamat ADC and drop almost 60,000 damage. So
That
definitely a
is
good,
disgusting.
definitely a good pick.
If I'm ever in a lane against Xerxes, remind me to just throw my PC out the window, save myself some trouble. And we do see in response that we get a lock in from a Merlin and an Ishtar. So with 3 of the 4 magical ADCs off the board, they choose to lock in the Ishtar. What are your feelings on not just ADC in general this season, but going with that Ishtar first over something like maybe going Kronos here or picking up maybe a Rama?
It's definitely nice to see traditional hunters getting back into the role, especially as we see Rama get locked in. And as far as those physical hunters go, Ishtar has been probably one of, if not the most popular physical hunters for quite some time now, with the exception of maybe Rama. So it's definitely good to see this traditional physical hunter getting back into the lane. But as you said, those magical ADCs having just got nerfed, it's interesting to see the disparity between who prioritizes them and who doesn't.
Yeah, and Kronos is a big one for me. I mean, granted, this is not super common knowledge, but there's a lot going on with the magical ADCs that even after these nerfs just doesn't quite feel right. Kronos is one in particular. Gilded Arrow is doing too much damage on Kronos. It's doing about 20 extra damage. It's currently a bug that has not been fixed. So there's a lot going on with those magical ADCs. So who knows, maybe there's a chance we see a Kronos jungle here, something crazy. But no, it's going to be the Sasano that gets locked in. That's a pick that I know you've also seen go crazy in your time casting so far this season. So walk me through the
Mhm.
jungle selection a bit.
Susano is definitely an interesting character, especially against somebody such as a Thor or a Rama. Even when Rama tries to go up and hit some snipes, Susano's Jetstream can actually still deal damage, just like Tsukiyomi's Piercing Moonlight, and can actually take somebody out if they're low enough. Plus, there's the added addition of dropping the Jetstream. You can just sit back and wait. Tell them, go ahead, dash, see what happens.
Yeah, that's kind of the, tra- the traditional blow ya up, spit in your face Sasano play. It's affected me many a times. Could definitely get like a public petition, a good one of those on tap. But coming out, we see an Athena ban. Athena has been making it through and did a lot of games but I think that's the first time I've seen Athena banned.
It's definitely interesting to see Athena gotten rid of here, but I don't think it's a terrible ban just because you want to limit the amount of global pressure. Having Thor, that semi global rotation potential really is powerful. The Anvil of Dawn is an incredibly strong ability. Don't get me wrong, but Defender of Olympus is also extremely powerful. So I think it's definitely not a terrible choice. More so unique is the word I would go for.
Yeah, for sure. We do see the Geb get locked in. Another character has been very popular. I love the Geb into Rama right now. Rama's traditionally going this crit build, getting Rage online, going into a Deathbringer. Sometimes we even see a Demon Blade, depending on the scenario. So I like the Geb lock in. The Morgan Le Fay is quickly speedrunning to the top of the priority chart for the mages, and it's pretty clear why. It's been pretty nasty so far throughout our season. We still haven't had SPL metas and such to compare to, but in our own SDL meta, Morgan Le Fay is near the top.
It's definitely a fun thing to watch just because, as being one of the newer mages being released, Morgan Le Fay is extremely fun to play just because you really have to carefully consider she is an artillery mage, but she does have at least some potential of peeling very well for her teammates. So if you have somebody like a Maui who's great as a diving support, that extra peel on Morgan Le Fay can come in really handy to get your ADC and herself out of some sticky situations, which, considering that there is a Susano on the other team, definitely not a bad idea.
I really like this Neja hover from Ragemore. We saw Ragemore go crazy in game number 2 against the Oath Keepers with this Neja in week number 2. So seeing it get locked in potentially could be very exciting. I really hope it gets confirmed. It's a nice selection for the solo lane. Ragemore played it picture perfect in that set against a different team now, and there's not a lot of information out there on Sanctified, given the fact that they haven't played, but if you're good at it and you can roll it down like Ragemore did on Nisha, you may as well go for it.
If it works, might as well just do it again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they always say. The interesting thing is, that Armillary Sash can go very well into this King Arthur, just because you can shut down a lot of that mobility and force him to box you up close, where Neja can really get the advantage.
That's a really good point. That will make it very difficult for Arthur to kind of just free cast. I mean, Arthur's got a lot of movement and a lot of kind of awkwardness to play around, but the Sash shutting down the big potential, maybe even leaving you in a bad spot, leaving you open to the ring toss is going to be scary, but we got everybody locked in. So I think we're ready to go. Your first Anthony Jeeringlamb cast is up next. We'll be right back with game number 1.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we would make it. Pulling out the parachute, jumping out the plane. You had it all in front of you, nothing feels the same. It's crazy what love can do, even crazier when it's not coming back to you. You say you need space, so I gave you all the states. Every night a different place. Used to think we're getting close, and now we're drifting away. And all I can say is that I'm feeling wasted. I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I always thought we would make it. Now you're gone.
Hello and welcome to game number 1 between Sanctified and the Sunbreakers. I'm Anthony Malum. I got Jeeringlamb alongside me for the first time. Nooblet will be our observer today. Let's get fancy with it. Still waiting on jungle buffs? Let's do it anyway.
I love the energy. We've got Noob on the cam. Always thank your cameramen. They put in a lot of work. Show your appreciation. Send them a message, maybe a postcard. It doesn't matter. Tell them that you love them. Life is short. But speaking of how short life is, those timers are looking short as the minions start spawning now. And we see barkyj actually holding the yellow buff for a second so you can arrive at the same time as a mid laner.
We love the little mechanics. I get obsessed over the small, minute mechanics every time I watch a game. They're my favorite thing because I think no matter how tiny they are, they make the biggest difference overall. I do want to look at relics, kind of set our stage if we've got anything weird on tap. And the biggest 2 things that are sticking out to me right away, Thor ran Blink, and Sasano's rocking a Vision Shard. We do have a meditation on Geb as opposed to a Shell, but the Vision Shard will be interesting. Falling down low is Ragemore after the gank from barkyj level 1. There's the Blink, getting the use onto Ragemore. Sash to avoid Berserker, but it doesn't matter in the end. It's Nicodrin gets the first blood for Sanctified.
Oh, that is a very, very early gank. I'm sure Ragemore is living up to his name and raging just a little bit. I know I would be. That is a little bit too early for the jungler to be showing up in solo lane.
Yeah, Jeffrey calls it the cringe gank, and I feel it in my soul every single time it happens. That's why I like dual lane. At least you know they're coming at level 3, and you got some time to breathe before it happens.
At least the dual lane does have a little bit of extra time, and this is definitely good for that Ishtar who's thriving on that early pressure with the Geb, just forcing Rama and Maui under tower. Definitely going to be a good thing for the Sunbreakers dual lane to set up some time for themselves.
Time is on their side. They've got a gank coming from Giant Dog. Gonna look to secure the shield. No, gonna look straight for the gank on to King of Darkness as Rama's already back with dash up. A Solar Swing comes out before Giant Dog could even get there. So this may just turn into a shield buff. And that's kind of been the story of the duo lane. The junglers end up just coming over for the shield buff. They can't get a secure for a kill. Ragemore getting poked out, not able to use the sash the way you hope to see from the Neja. So we're going to look to get some of that pressure back as we get later into the laning phase.
I must point out that it was in fact FullofShrimp, the ADC, that placed that ward earlier, not the support who normally buys the ward. Very interesting switch up.
Yeah, that's a built different kind of attitude there from FullofShrimp. They probably survived because of it, utilizing it to be aware of the Sasano's presence, and it's gonna matter later. You know, something interesting I'm seeing so far is we see Thor hanging out on the right side of the map, and that's not been common so far this season. I mean, you're wanting to keep Ragemore ahead and play off Ragemore, but this is another gank at 2 minutes and 37 seconds on a Ragemore. The wall was off the mark, and the double tap doesn't hit either, so not going to find a kill. But do you think that pressure is well utilized there? I feel like we're used to seeing junglers really go crazy on the left side.
This could certainly go very well for Nicodrin. Being that King Arthur, if he can get himself ahead, especially with the help of his jungler, and securing those blue buffs, his aligning phase is going to be a breeze, which will make team fights all the more threatening. And I don't know about you, but a King Arthur that's already ahead, starting a rotation, that's pretty scary stuff.
It's pretty scary. There's nothing like the Mortal Kombat character coming over and rolling across the keyboard and deleting everybody on the map at 18 minutes. But I agree. I like barkyj keeping the presence over there and helping out Nico because, I mean, like you said, it's not an easy matchup for King Arthur, but any matchup is easy when you can get a level lead before 4 minutes on your opponent in the solo lane. You've already expended the teleport from Ragemore. It's still on cooldown for 30 seconds, so just in a nice spot if you're King Arthur.
It's also good because you already know that's an Ishtar on the other side. The Sunbreakers have the dual lane pressure. Nothing's going to change that. As soon as you walk away, unless you immediately have that kill, you're not getting the pressure back. That's an Ishtar. She's just going to walk right up, take it all the way back, and put you right into tower.
That ward's going to be put to good use again. King of Darkness is very low, but does have Solar Swing up. There's Typhoon. Shell comes out. CACTUSARMS rolling in, but King of Darkness may not have had Solar Swing as Giant Dog gets the kill on to the Maui. Could not escape in time to get away from the Typhoon.
It's going to be a good early pickup. That is a very early kill and a great return for the Sunbreakers. Now 1-1 on the scoreboard. They could use that extra pressure since Ragemore does not have that over in the solo lane.
Not at all. That's where a lot of this gold difference is so far, is that solo lane. Now 2 levels, so about a level and a half probably for Nico over their opponent. And that's scary because, I mean, even if you start sashing and getting that advantage and stopping Arthur, if the lead gets too crazy, it's not going to do anything regardless.
This is very true. That overhead slash and hamstring on King Arthur, once you start leveling those abilities, they hit really hard. And especially with that bluestone, and now with a finished Glad Shield, you have a very high chance of getting soloed almost immediately.
King of Darkness, Solar Swing down onto Koala, has to use the Purification Beads early and gonna get pulled up by Landfall. Astral Barrage doesn't hit, but the basic attack cleans it up anyway. KoalaMang falls down to FullofShrimp, and they've got their first kill on the Rama. And we do have an invade on the other side of the map coming out from the Sasano, going to run into Nico. Giant Dog gets brought up. barkyj's waiting at the bottom. Giant Dog can just try to get away. Thor going to go up into the sky and look for Giant Dog, who's under the tower, and Thor is not feeling quite that aggressive and going to go the other way.
It was definitely a little bit of a miscommunication there. I'm not sure if you saw, but King Arthur brought Giant Dog up into the ultimate right at the same time Thor was dropping the wall and the hammer. So unfortunately, that Mjolnir's attunement is not going to connect, and that actually will give Giant Dog enough time to survive.
Yeah, you've got to... Those small abilities go overlooked, but you got to get the timing right. We'll see if the timing's right this time as we have barkyj coming over again in response to the Windfire Wheels. Ragemore just looking to get out. Nice sash to avoid the wall, but it's dropping quick. Giant Dog is rotating over, but may not get there in time. Ragemore does not escape in time. Giant Dog will turn around and retreat to CACTUSARMS, and they will not fully rotate the solo lane. So another death for the Neja. Now 2 deaths down to 2 kills for the King Arthur.
That was a brutal hamstring. It looked like he still had about a quarter HP left.
Yeah. I'm feeling it for Ragemore right now. There's just so much pressure to deal with, and I'm used to, it happens, like I talked about, it happens a lot in dual lane where the jungler feels like they're backing and coming straight back to your lane, but this time it's Ragemore just going through it with the Thor pressure over there. They've got to, I would say if I'm Giant Dog, I almost got to abandon the solo lane at this rate and try to alleviate that pressure by going somewhere else and making something else happen.
Unfortunately, it just looks like barkyj really wanted to make the Sunbreakers player live up to his name. He is not wasting any time and rotating right back there.
Yeah, that's just no fun. That's no bueno. I gotta be honest. And what's gonna hurt too is Neja's going full damage build, but only has 8 stacks on Transcendence already, and Neja's had it for a little bit. So you're just getting put further and further down. CACTUSARMS runs into 3, and nice ultimate to buy time for Giant Dog to get there, but Dog's got no targets, so Sunbreakers is forced to walk away with nothing despite the 3-man stun from CACTUSARMS.
That was a beautiful Cataclysm, but unfortunately, there just wasn't anybody quite close enough to be able to make anything out of it. Definitely a good play from him to be able to catch that, but unfortunately, it will go to waste, and that is now a big bit of valuable resources that's missing from the Sunbreakers.
I bet you wish you had Cataclysm right there, because I think King of Darkness might have died. It was very caught out, even with Solar Swing. Would have taken a lot of damage, but nothing quite there. We do have a lot of pressure from Nico onto Ragemore, and CACTUSARMS shows up for the defense of the buff, but the knockup might have affected the sash there. So Shockwave kind of working to Ragemore's dismay. And it's so frustrating, because what do you do in this scenario, even as the Neja? Because where do you go get your stacks from if you're getting pressured out of wave every single time?
Really, all he's left to do is try and get some of those back RPs and the roaming RPs whenever he can. But right now, it looks like Sanctified's looking for another fight.
Sanctified got very aggressive, but backing up due to the presence. The wall backs up CACTUSARMS for the time being, and the rollout got slowed down, but the Typhoon comes out, and barkyj goes back in. Landfall actually hurts King of Darkness, but it won't create any kills for Sunbreakers, surprisingly. So the fight leads to no deaths, but a lot of ultimates expended.
It's also worth noting, in that fight, Nikojin expended his Horn Shard defensively to get it away from that fight, but it turns out it was for nothing. They were dropping all of that in the mid lane, and now the Sunbreakers have a position to go for the Gold Fury.
And it's dropping quick. Gold Fury already down to half health. Rama is around to contest, goes up into the sky in good time, but the first shot was off the mark, which may have hurt the chances. The third shot hit, but did not get the steal. Sunbreakers gets the Gold Fury. Giant Dog may be caught out, despite getting the Gold Fury, is caught out. King of Darkness gets credit for the kill, not Reyhum. So 4 kills on the board for Sanctified, despite the gold lead being incredibly close.
Definitely not a great feeling for Sanctified to be getting these kills and not really having enough of a lead to show for it, but they do definitely have the ball rolling. Like we've been saying, that solo lane is really starting to roll. The King Arthur Snowball has begun. We've got a Glad Shield and a Prophetic Cloak already started. This could turn very, very strong very, very quickly, and they're trying to turn that into a confirm on the Pyromancer. But Evan,
that was a gutsy Pyromancer.
Not letting him have it this time.
Very gutsy.
Not giving it up.
Yeah, King of Darkness considered going back in. I'm not sure if that was another slight miscommunication. And honestly, barkyj, despite having some really nice rotations, both junglers very down in farm compared to the rest of the map. They're on par with the supports. They've been rotating around so much, which is very weird to see.
They're both the same level as their supports. Look at that.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't think I've seen that so far this season.
It's definitely very unique. Almost everybody's at very similar levels, except for the solo laners, but everybody else is on par with their other laner.
And it's not like they haven't been doing things. I mean, we've seen both junglers actively rotating and putting pressure. We've seen barkyj putting a lot of pressure on solo. Giant Dog has made a couple appearances in duo, and then a couple peaks over at solo. Granted, solo may be at a bit of a lost cause. Neja, though, does get stacks online, so was lacking for a while, but caught up quickly, which will be huge for the Neja going forward, because you need that damage if you want to even be a part of the game later on.
It's definitely going to be a good feeling for Ragemore to be able to get back into the game. He's minimized that deficit to now where it's only more of a level and a half. So it could certainly be worse, but it looks like right now FullofShrimp is full of himself getting aggressive on KoalaMang.
Yeah, looking for that shield buff. Does look like Koala got the better of the pressure, and the ward spots out CACTUSARMS. So FullofShrimp, they're just going to go ahead and back up. Purple buff is going to be grabbed by Sunbreakers, and there's no way Shrimp can contest that. They pulled it just at a range of the arrows, too. So, but, oh, Pyromancer getting pulled here by Sanctified. Evan's around the corner on the Merlin and has really good damage, to say the least. So once again, Sanctified forced to just back off of it.
I really do appreciate Sanctified getting active and trying to go for it a little bit early, but man, they just are not having any luck with it today. Evan is on the prowl. He's a level 13 Merlin. If anything, that has got to be kind of scary. He's got Tablet and Thoth already built, not fully stacked yet, but that's still going to do a lot of damage in its own right.
Yeah, that Merlin's cranking numbers right now. A lot of pings coming out by the Oracles, so we're probably going to see a fight there. barkyj's there first. Going to try to de-ward. Giant Dog's coming around from behind. There's a Cataclysm. A lot of damage coming out on barkyj. Going to go up into the sky. There's a jet stream. Jeering talked about that, but not enough damage onto barkyj to make the difference there. Could not get him low enough in time. Will turn into the Oracles for Sunbreakers, though, so they win the better of the engagement at the Oracles.
That's also a lot of resources gone for Sanctified. Not having that Anvil of Dawn really limits his ability to effectively gank. Not to say that he can't, but it really slows him down. Plus, it was also a good heads-up play from barkyj, holding that Anvil of Dawn just long enough that the jet stream wore out.
I'm not sure if I like this play. Level 10 Susana going back behind the Tier 1. Tier 1 does fall. FullofShrimp goes up into the air, and Giant Dog is getting hit by the barrages and the double tap. It falls down to FullofShrimp. Landfall does not find a home on KoalaMang, but they've got the 3-on-2 advantage here. CACTUSARMS gonna go for the rollout. Does get the rollout off. Hard sentence, put myself in a bad spot there. But Sunbreakers gonna be safe and able to get away, and Sanctified gonna just secure the shield buff. We'll see if this turns into anything more.
Sanctified actually looking to start up the Gold Fury here. This Primal Fury could be very, very valuable if they can pull it off. They've got 4 strong, but will the Sunbreakers be able to contest? They certainly hear it, and here comes Evan to make sure this gets shut down.
Evan's going to be the problem in this fight. Primal Fury at half, and it's let go. CACTUSARMS falling down low. Reyhum gets a credit on the kill. Reyhum uses Aegis to survive the shotgun autos from Koala. Uses the Jolt to get away. Anvil lands down on Koala. It's a double kill for Reyhum. And Evan could not do too much. Does a lot of damage to King of Darkness. Has to solar swing out of there. But Evan and Giant Dog are still here and present. Ragemore does find the kill after getting here on King of Darkness. So now Primal Fury could potentially be done by Sunbreakers. Wow, they really turned that around.
They certainly have a lot of damage between Ragemore getting off some random crits and Evan just playing Merlin, and the fact that Merlin absolutely shreds his objectives. That Primal Fury goes down even faster than Reyhum could even rotate over.
A lot of damage came out from Morgan Le Fay. And we didn't even talk about the Morgan v. Merlin matchup in picks and bans. I mean, we're at 15 minutes. We're at level 15 for both of them, noticeably ahead. Who do you see having the bigger impact come these team fights later?
It could certainly go either way, just because Merlin has absolutely horrifying amounts of damage once he gets that late game, but Morgan Le Fay has horrifying amounts of crowd control in her kit. And Sanctified already has a lot of crowd control on their team, between King of Darkness playing Maui, Nicodrin, and barkyj just locking any of the backliners down. I feel like that crowd control could really come into play here in this late game.
Take notes, kids. Crowd control is going to be the thing to look for late in the game. Pretty calm at 16 minutes, and the gold lead is even kills, not so much. So Sanctified has not been able to do a whole lot with their gold lead, and the gold lead probably still can be attributed to solo lane, where Nico still has 2 levels on Ragemore. Ragemore's build has gone full tanky, so able to survive most of it, and is getting a rotation, so should be fine here. They're going to look to put pressure onto Nico. Cactus and Giant Dog are both here. There's a Cataclysm into the Typhoon combo. Nico's just trying to get out of there. Windfire wheels. All the ultimates go down on King Arthur, trying to bring the raid boss down. The Sash and the Basic are ultimately what does it, and Nicodrin falls.
That's going to be a huge shutdown. If you look, Sunbreakers are now a little over 1,000 gold in the lead after shutting him down. That is going to be a huge boon to the Sunbreakers. They're definitely feeling good after that one.
Yeah, that was a mental victory, as much as was just shut down gold. You know, it feels good to take out the raid bosses. barkyj trying to defend the tower against Ragemore, unsuccessful, and going to be in a bad spot. Rage is doing some damage, but barkyj has the escape, gets away. King of Darkness around the corner is enough to convince Ragemore to give off the chase. So maybe this will turn into a Pyromancer for Sunbreakers. They could look to pull it at least.
I'm starting to see a narrative getting played out here. I'm seeing the Sunbreakers making these really crucial counter ganks, coming in at just the right time, with massive ward coverage and advantage. I'm starting to see something playing out here. I don't know if you're seeing this too, but Sanctified, having that early lead, it's really not helping them at all now.
And we talked about the experience playing together. We'll see if it matters with the Pyromancer. barkyj's up in the sky. Pyromancer low. Sanctified does steal the Pyromancer. barkyj gets out of there as well. Typhoon comes out, finds Nicodrin, not King of Darkness, and King of Darkness is plenty healthy to go in with the Solar Swing, and Reyhum is around the corner to do damage, but it looks like Sunbreakers wisely going to say, all right, we'll take the L and walk away, as Sanctified with a nice steal of the Pyromancer.
Definitely a great feel if you're a player on the Sanctified team or one of their fans at home. That's a good pickup for them. There was starting to be a little bit of a gold lead in favor of the Sunbreakers, but now, with that steal and a relatively favorable fight, Sanctified, keeping themselves in this game, gold lead and experience lead for that matter, are still pretty negligible.
Yeah, that's a frustrating feeling, because where are they getting their... You have more kills, but the feel of the game feels Sunbreakers. The objective control minus the steal feels Sunbreakers. So you're doing a lot right, but somehow you feel like you're doing a lot wrong. It's a really awkward spot. I mean, you just pointed out the wards and the counter rotations. It's not like there has been no wards from Sanctified, and isn't like Sanctified isn't rotating themselves. They're just kind of getting outmatched at each corner, and it's just an awkward feeling for them to play around.
It's definitely not a great feeling to know you got these early kills, you had this advantage. Where the heck are they getting all this farm from? Where is that money coming from?
Yeah, they must have some mattress firm stuff going on. Got some money laundering fronts.
Did the laundry and found some extra cash in their pocket. Sanctified actually looking for a very aggressive Gold Fury pull.
It's already down to half health. Sanctified being gentle with it, so it may be a bait. Sunbreakers has arrived to contest, and we've got a 5v5 fight at 20 minutes, just hitting the clock. Rage More going to look to be the playmaker, just like week 2. Windfire wheels onto barkyj. We'll see what's waiting on the landing. It's everything waiting on the landing. Landfall finds nobody home, but barkyj found the side to get away, and does get away, if not very low. Considering going back in, Nicodrin falls down, and that's enough for barkyj to get out of dodge. FullofShrimp does find a nice astral takedown of CACTUSARMS, and Sanctified going to go away, having taken out the support, just losing Nico. Going to hang out enough to make sure Gold Fury doesn't get pulled, so we may have a 4v3 fight, or 3v3 fight. I can say words good. And nope, they're going to back away. Honestly, if I'm Sunbreakers, I'm taking that fight.
It's definitely already turned in their favor so far. You traded CACTUSARMS, your support, for Nicodrin, the King Arthur solo laner. That is a 5-level difference between those two players. I know which trade I'm taking every single day of the week.
Yeah, I'm surprised this fizzled out into a mid lane and clear waves. That could have gone very differently. Windfire Wheels does come out on barkyj again. On landing, Evan has erased the Thor, but now Evan is caught out and taking a lot of damage, gets knocked up, and Reyhum gets credit for the kill. Killing spree for the Morgan Le Fay. Giant Dog dropping low, does get the shield to get out of there. King of Darkness wanted some more, but the ring bounce did too much damage to Reyhum, and Sanctified has to back off, so they get a pick, but they lose their jungler again. This time, fully losing the jungler, not just getting poked out. So we're seeing a theme from Sunbreakers, and it's get the Thor out of the fight.
Definitely not a terrible play. Being 0-1-6 now, he may have been very active in the early game, but his overall impact isn't quite as felt as somebody like Nicodrin, who is much farther ahead in the experience game and much more menacing in the mental game.
It's going to be a big difference going forward, too, because they've got to find the perfect balance of that. And something that's going underrated is the fact that Rage More being the one to initiate these fights and being the problem for Sanctified and being as tanky as they are has left Giant Dog just completely left alone most fights to kind of free cast as Sasano. Not what you want. Pyromancer falling down low. Sanctified gets the steal again! If there's one thing Sanctified can do, it's steal the Pyromancer. Nicodrin gets brought up into the air. barkyj off the mark with Anvil of Dawn. Falling down low quickly, gets caught out, and KoalaMang sends barkyj to the grayscale. Sanctified backing off despite health bar advantage. We'll see if they decide to go back in, maybe following Reyhum in, but they've got so much distance to cover. Looks like Sunbreakers gets away, so Sanctified steals Pyro, loses Thor, but does get to back away. That's 2 times now that Pyromancer's just been yoinked away.
Definitely not the worst trade-off for Sanctified. They do end up losing the fight and one of their team members, but they do manage to steal away the objective again. Even if that's not direct value in gold, that's a lot of value in the mental game. And I think Sanctified is feeling relatively okay about that one.
Yeah, I think that was another. We talked about them a bit earlier, but it's another mental victory for Sanctified. And for a while, there was a lot going wrong in the mental department this game. So getting some good vibes online, doing things like that kind of turn the feel of your comms around. That 2K gold lead starts to not feel like so much. Like right now, comms are probably like FullofShrimp saying I've got damage, I can kill. Reyhum saying play off me. Thor saying can I have some waves? So things are looking good.
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Thor is saying, hey, can I hang out in solo for like 5 minutes, Nico? 5 minutes tops. We'll
How will
see
that
what
work
Thor
out?
does with Anvil of Dawn. Goes up into the sky. Giant Dog is getting ultimates from everybody, but that took him out of the ultimate from barkyj. Landfall brings in Ragemore. Nico does delete Giant Dog, if not a bit delayed. Astral Barrage comes out, but Ragemore is more than tanky enough to deal with the hits. So it's a lot of ultimates down for Sanctified, and they're going to look to pull the Fire Giant. This is more than likely a bait. And they baited out Ragemore so far, stuck on the other side of the Thor wall. Solar Swing comes down but doesn't find a home, and now Sanctified has to kind of walk away. They put themselves in an interesting position, and Sunbreakers looks ready to capitalize. There's a Sash, and there's the Windfire Wheels on a CACTUSARMS, or excuse me, onto Nicodrin. And again, Sanctified wisely backing away, but they've left the Thor alone. Thor is going to once again be victim to positioning as Sanctified takes the retreat. It kind of feels like they're starting to use Thor as a bit of bait to get away.
It's almost starting to look like a red herring. barkyj will go in,
Yeah.
take some fights. Nicodrin getting caught out once again, having teleported in, gets caught out by 4 members strong of Sunbreakers.
Oh, what a great Maui portal there from King of Darkness to get Nicodrin away. The Sash does not find a home. Fire Giant should just be contested this time by Reyhum. But yeah, Nicodrin was a bit early there on the contest, and Sunbreakers wisely just dropped it and looked for the fight. Reyhum is going to be the main contest here. King of Darkness is going to go in as well and try to create an opening for the Morgan Le Fay. Sunbreakers being patient on the Fire Giant, not burning it. Matter of fact, they're going to walk away from it. CACTUSARMS is falling really low, and CACTUSARMS gets deleted by the Fire Giant. Reyhum gets the credit, but we all saw the same thing. Poor CACTUSARMS fell victim to the retreat there.
Unfortunately, he just wasn't able to get out of dodge fast enough, and Fire Giant will end up burning up the rest of his health bar. That's going to be a huge positional game for Sanctified. That's 1 member down.
Reyhum has to expend both actives in the mid lane against Giant Dog, so a small victory on the side of Sunbreakers. We'll see if Sunbreakers takes advantage of that. We'll see if they've got the thingy scripts online to keep track of Morgan Le Fay's actives. Pyromancer comes up. Gonna be lightly looked at by Sanctified, but they're looking for kills. They do find Ragemore, but remember how tanky Ragemore is? Yeah, Ragemore remembers too. Goes up into the air on landing. Not much follow-up damage. JK, there's a lot. It's all from EvanTGW. Deletes Reyhum on the landing. Score 1 for Camelot, and Sanctified gonna have to retreat. May not be able to steal the Pyromancer this time, but King of Darkness certainly wants to try and add another one to the block. Does have Landfall active, but it's not going to come out in time. Sunbreakers deletes the Pyromancer in plenty of time. They were not accepting a steal.
Once again, we see a beautiful engage from Ragemore, getting right in there, sneaking his way into the backline to really get active, buying the rest of his team enough time to do all the damage. And speaking of damage, you've got Evan the big dub to finish it off and secure the kill.
Yeah, the Merlin, you talked about it. Merlin's online. Look at the mid laners. They're carrying this game. Look at the damage drop off. You've got 3 people at 25k, and then it's a significant drop to 16k. Then it's a 6k drop down, and you've got everybody hanging out below 10. It's so significant. It's so clear the way this game is being played. You send your solo laners in, you let them cause havoc, the mid laners clean up the fight, and everybody goes their separate ways.
I do have to point out, poor barkyj is not feeling too great, all the way down towards the bottom of the player damage chart at 5,000. Almost 28 minutes in, he's not really had much impact since the start of this game in the solo lane.
Yeah, and we talked about it, right? We said that it almost feels like they're utilizing Thor if Thor gets caught out as the escape. I mean, barkyj is currently getting solo farm on the left side, and that feels like the first time in a while they've given Thor the opportunity to go get that farm. So it's not been a great game to be barkyj, and I think Sanctified may have misutilized his Thor a little bit.
It's not to say that barkyj isn't doing anything. He's got 7 assists out of 11 kills for his team. He's there in these team fights, getting active.
For sure.
Unfortunately, he's just not able to get the damage off.
And we've definitely seen Sunbreakers respecting that Anvil of Dawn. They play
Yeah.
around it until it lands. The problem is it's been landing in spots that leave barkyj really vulnerable. Nicodrin's taken poke, but we'll see how much comes of it. CACTUSARMS does roll out and knock Nico away, but I think that was more of a, how's the wife, how's the kids kind of a rollout.
Really just pulled up, said, hey, what's going on? Said, all right, I'll see you later.
With the little bonk and the little forehead kiss coming out from CACTUSARMS. 29 minutes, Fire Giant ready to be taken. Actives across the board are about as normal can be. A Heavenly coming out from King of Darkness. We'll see if that helps out FullofShrimp for this next team fight. Sash comes in from Ragemore. Sanctified playing it very calm this time. They're not panicking off the Sash, which is a change of pace in these team fights for certain. Rollout comes through. Does stop it. Nico gets away. Kind of just testing the waters. Both teams want to see if someone's going to make the mistake that creates an opening. And Sunbreakers are playing off what they've learned from the last fight. That team fight feel, they've got the mental advantage. They just got to look for an opening. Ragemore once again with the Sash. Just finds King. Not too much damage comes off of it. Nico runs in the Giant Dog. Very tanky, but does get caught out by Ragemore. Here's the Anvil, and Sunbreakers is very grouped up, but Sanctified, again, Anvil comes out and Sanctified backs away. This time, barkyj lands back down on the side of Sanctified. They do that almost every time barkyj goes in the air.
It's definitely an unfortunate situation that barkyj's found himself in. He has the potential to start these fights and really catch a lot of people with that Anvil of Dawn and stun them out for his team. But unfortunately, he's just not in the best position to actually pull that off. So it looks like the Sanctified having a real lack of experience and not having any time to play with each other is really starting to show and cause some problems for him.
King of Darkness gets deleted, going for the steal. barkyj gets brought up, but the Windfire Wheel's going to come down and be very low. Astral Barrage going to clean up... Not going to clean up Ragemore, who actually gets to walk away. barkyj still alive, if not barely. Health bars are very low for Sunbreakers. barkyj actually cleans up Koala. Giant Dog gets a return onto Reyhum. And Sunbreakers can't get the Fire Giant because of the health bars. I'm starting to go a little crazy.
It's definitely going to be a good team fight for the Sunbreakers. They managed to trade one person for 3 on the other side. The problem is the one that you lost was your ADC, your main damage dealer against that Fire Giant. The real objective shred. Don't get me wrong. Evan's going to shred that thing as Merlin. But the problem is, you can only shred it for so long before you need that ADC's consistent damage.
In the picks and bans, you spoke after we saw the Athena get banned. You talked about limiting that global potential and keeping it to just the Thor. Granted, we saw the ban come out from Sanctified, but you talked about it regardless, especially with credit to the Thor. And Sunbreakers, be it a mistake of Sanctified or a utilization of Sunbreakers, they've played off this Thor perfectly. It's been a non-factor. Anvil of Dawn comes out, both teams retreat as if they're both going to get hit by it, and Sunbreakers plays the rest of the fights off that. So we'll have to see going forward if one of these teams makes a change. Sunbreakers needs to either start going in off of the missed Anvils, or Sanctified needs to follow up on the Anvils. But something's got to change for one of these two teams. But looks like we have a pause coming out, so we'll be right back after the pause. Don't go anywhere. Maybe take a piddle break.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we you're a ghost. I'm caught up in a landslide, mental on the
I hope you washed your hands. Welcome back to the Smite Draft League. You have not missed anything quite yet, but you may see something here soon. Blink has to be used from barkyj. Windfire Wheels brings up Nico on the landing, taking a lot of poke. Gotta get out of there, Nico. Runs into Cataclysm and CACTUSARMS, gets the kill. Ragemore finds barkyj, has to use Purification Beads. Landfall from King of Darkness, wisely used to save the Thor, but at what cost, King? Support lives do matter, but Evan doesn't care. Gets rid of King of Darkness. Sanctified now down 2 members for Fire Giant, and I think Sunbreakers may finally get the EFG at this rate.
They've certainly got the position. All they need to do is secure this objective, and they have a lot of space to do that. Problem is, FullofShrimp still has that Astral Barrage up, so they'll have to be careful as we see Anvil of Dawn go up.
And Fire Giant is low, but Sunbreakers is taking it easy. Anvil gonna land, and we've seen this happen to barkyj a couple of times. They turn instantly onto the Thor, and they delete the problem from Asgard. Reyhum getting chased down by Ragemore, who's doing a lot of damage, but taking a lot in return from consuming power. There's the sash onto Reyhum. Can't take on the world, even if you're Morgan Le Fay. And Evan, the W, gets a kill.
The Wrath of the Sorcerer's Scorned is not enough to take him down. That will be a beautiful team fight for the Sunbreakers. 5 men strong, 2 down on the side of Sanctified. That's a mid T2 down, and now Sunbreakers are looking for even more as they press towards the Phoenix.
It looks like the EFG was all Sunbreakers needed to play with some confidence. CACTUSARMS leads the charge into the Phoenix, and it's dropping quick. Ragemore off the mark with Windfire on to FullofShrimp. They're going to get away for now, but Sunbreakers is rared and ready to go. They take the steps into the Titan room, and they're putting in work. There's a stun on Nico, falling low, falling quick. Does get away with a nice shell from King of Darkness. CACTUSARMS is noticeably low. CACTUSARMS has expelled both relics, so they're going to have to back up. They do not have the full health and full help of the Geb at this point. So Sunbreakers wisely going to clean up some tier 2s and take the fight a bit easier. But they really wanted to end. You could feel it.
They really tried to push for that, but unfortunately they just didn't have quite enough damage. And with all the members of Sanctified coming right back up, they just didn't quite have enough time. They do walk out of it with a couple towers and a Phoenix down with a lot of gold in their pocket as they look to drop the Primal Fury. So once they back, this next push is going to be even stronger.
I mean, if you're Sanctified, what do you do with this rate? But the gold lead is one of the bigger problems they have, certainly. But I mean, I think the biggest problem, and certainly I'd like to hear your input on this, just feels like Sanctified has no real strategy to their team fights. They're kind of just all doing their own thing.
It certainly does look like that inexperience is coming into play a little bit, but these are still players who have talent. We saw that in the early game. They know how to make plays. They just don't have the time to sync up with each other. So before this next Fire Giant spawns in the next 2.5 minutes, the Sanctified really need to double down on that communication and show up with that extra CC that they have, utilize their teamfight potential, and just turn around where they just haven't quite been talking to each other enough.
And this game isn't lost. It's not looking great, but, you know, 1 Phoenix down is not the end of the world. You've got more than enough damage to compete. You got to survive. You have to survive the next onslaught, basically. And you have to contest the next EFG, assuming there is one. Those are the 2 things that need to happen for Sanctified in this game. And these are best of 3 sets, so you've got time to correct things. It's just, you gotta start correcting quick because Sunbreakers is knocking on the door of the Phoenix.
Solo side Phoenix already being threatened. Down a quarter of the way as we see it. Anvil of Dawn going up.
Who's it going to find? Finds 2. Landfall brings those 2 in, but those 2 aren't both going to fall, just 1, and it's CACTUSARMS. Consuming power from Reyhum was not enough to find any more kills, but with their support gone, Sunbreakers does back off. They may look for Pyro and to prepare for next EFG, so Sanctified, though they find 1 member, that member was enough to keep them in the game just a bit longer.
That's definitely going to be a very, very big pickup for the team of Sanctified. That's really going to put a lot of confidence back into their minds and a lot of wind into their sails. That gives them a ton of space and extra time to really iron out these issues that they've been having. And we saw in that case, they certainly know how to do it, but they got another problem. Ragemore going right for the Phoenix.
teleport comes out, but it's not going to be enough. Ragemore, with the solo spy mission, gets the Phoenix and gets away. They are chasing deep, and that damage was good from Reyhum. They could chase this, but they can't chase it too far because Sunbreakers is on the way. This could be a trap card waiting to be played from Sunbreakers. Sanctified still on the chase. They're going to turn to the fire minions in mid wisely and stop it. I was getting really concerned for a second there.
Don't you worry, Ragemore has both the extra movement speed from his passive, from the ring toss, and from the fact that is, in fact, a breastplate of regrowth. That's a lot of extra movement speed. So once Ragemore hits a couple targets with that ring toss, that is going to be a little NASCAR zooming around that map.
It will. Sunbreakers setting up for the big objectives. Sanctified, letting their mid-Phoenix fall to fire minions. barkyj on the race back, could not get there in time. Things are not looking great for Sanctified, but they have to contest this EFG. That is the most pressing matter at hand. They cannot contest it. Now Sunbreakers will look to run it in. They may pick off King of Darkness. There's the Windfire wheels on to King, and he's down so low. They're just going to wait for him to land and then delete the support. KoalaMang gets credit. Now it's a 5v4. Reyhum gets caught backing. Has to use consuming power, but it will not be enough. Giant Dog gets a kill onto Reyhum, and now there's only 3 left for the defense against Sunbreakers. It gets more bleak the more I speak. And Sunbreakers is walking into the throne room. They've got 2 Phoenixes down. They've got a wave with them, and they've got lots and lots of damage. Nico Drink gets caught out. There goes barkyj into the sky. See how many he finds. He finds 2, but it's not going to be enough. Titan already going to fall, and Sunbreakers takes game 1 of the set, and they do it handily. We'll be right back on the desk to break it down for you.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home.
Sunbreakers has taken game 1, and they've done it with authority. Sanctified may have had an opening at the end, but it definitely all got thrown away. Jeering, walk me through what you saw in game 1 and give me what if you are Sanctified, if you're on the team, you're a team captain, you've got input, what are you looking to change going into game number 2?
I think Sanctified really needs to take a look at how can they utilize the jungler. barkyj did not have the greatest of games, but it wasn't a lack of effort. He had the activity, they had the CC available, they just weren't able to sync it up on time with each other. And unfortunately, that lack of communication and just general inexperience with each other really turned into a massive downfall that absolutely tore them apart in the late game.
And it made it impossible to contest. They had to run away every single time. Something I'm looking for, and this isn't a targeted insult or anything like that, but I think I'm looking for barkyj to pick a different selection. I'm not sure if it was entirely barkyj, if it was the Thor, or if it was Sanctified and how they played off of the Thor. But barkyj was just put in a bad spot that game and was unable to make anything happen with that Thor. And look at Reyhum dropping 50k on Morgan Le Fay. You gotta play off of that more. And going into game 2, that's the biggest thing I'm looking for. So we'll have to see when we get there. We'll be right back with picks and bans for game number 2.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone
Hello and welcome to game number 2. They are on the same sides this game between Sunbreakers and Sanctified. And the first band's out looking pretty much the same. Got a Soul and a Freya. I'm still Anthony Malum. I've got Jeeringlamb with me. Uh, Feelings aren't great after that game. What are you looking for specifically from bands here from Sanctified?
Sanctified really had a good setup last game. They just unfortunately weren't able to really bring it together in the late game. They had the early pressure, they had the talent in the early game. They just unfortunately didn't have quite enough experience to make that all happen together. And really, they just need to just consolidate where they messed up last time and just kind of fix it. Other than that, they actually had a pretty solid draft. Their Morgan Le Fay was going absolutely insane. They just need to just bring it all together.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Sunbreakers will see the same thing and maybe look to ban out that Morgan Le Fay. I mean, Morgan Le Fay is I wouldn't say that that character tends to be anybody's comfort pick. It's just a character that does a lot and can be played well. It does look like Sanctified wanted to get rid of Ragemore's Neja, though. So how are we feeling on that? I mean, I agree. We saw it go crazy week 2, week 3. It's clearly a problem. But how do you feel about it?
I think it's definitely a good thing to really shake up Ragemore and get him off of that pick. Clearly, he's comfortable on it. And to put it in simple terms, they really knew how to make that Neja engage work. And it became a massive problem for Sanctified. So getting rid of that and forcing a different strategy that may give them a better chance to focus up is definitely going to be a good idea.
So it looks like Sanctified's going to look to take the Merlin away from Evan and presumably give it to Reyhum in place of the Morgan Le Fay. I understand wanting to take it out of the hands of Evan and maybe not use a ban slot on it. My problem is I want to see Reyhum do just as good, or I think that might be a mistake.
It's definitely one of those dangerous situations where, yes, it's good, and it's always a good idea to have the Merlin, especially because of how just solid he is right now. But there it is, the main problem. I was thinking, what does that leave open for the other team to pick up? And we see a Mercury and Ishtar locked in.
The Maui is in response. I was almost going to say, I mean, Maui is a great pickup. King of Darkness did play a very good game on the Maui. Saw 2 Pyromancer seals, both credited to King of Darkness, but I almost would have liked to see a Geb here, to be completely honest, because they're going to need a Spectral. You're against Mercury Ishtar, so you may as well kind of play into that if you're going to let those 2 characters go through. And I'm not, if I'm on Sanctified, I'm not very thrilled of what I'm going against this time.
It may work out, it may not, but I think the important thing here is confidence. They certainly seem comfortable in that Maui, they trust in it. King of Darkness certainly made a good name for it in the last game. So if it's going to work for them, they need to really show up in this game number 2, because if they lose this game, the set is over.
The Hades solo coming out. I saw very recently that Final K is already touting the praises of Hades since the nerfs to solo lane as we head into what will be the next patch soon. Do you think the Hades solo here was necessary for Nico, or do you think this plays into team comp?
It could be one of many things. It could certainly be just the fact that Hades is very strong right now and has a lot of praise from top end players. It could also just simply be that Nikojin enjoys playing Hades. We're all allowed to have our own opinions. He's certainly
No.
allowed to play a mage in the solo, but he's also allowed to be wrong.
I'm gonna look at that Hades as a big thing to watch. The Geb is brought out and run back for CACTUSARMS. They hovered the Ymir for a moment, but did not choose to go with it. The Rama ban is interesting because FullofShrimp, and this is no discredit, because there wasn't a lot for Sanctified to have done that game. FullofShrimp certainly wasn't carrying or anything on the Rama, didn't have the opportunity to, so maybe that ban was more of a, we don't want it. Maybe Koala didn't feel too comfortable playing against it. So I wonder, because we haven't seen too much of FullofShrimp, I wonder what their next go-to will be in this scenario. The Mage ADCs are off the board, the Rama's off the board. Where do you go from here?
It could certainly be for the fact that Rama has at least a fair amount of early pressure against the Ishtar, and the ability to clear those camps and the waves with those spectral arrows really presses back against Ishtar. So it could certainly just be that they're trying to maximize Ishtar's early lead and just force a snowball in the duo lane.
Evan brings out the Hugh Wong. Very safe selection. I like that into the Hades. I think that's a nice pickup here for Evan. I almost was wondering if Evan was going to take the Morgan Le Fay. I was kind of curious if we are going to see that come out, but no. There is a band that just came out before that interested me. The Thanatos band. I find that a little surprising at the end here.
I certainly think it's very interesting. It could certainly just be limit that early pressure since, as you saw last game, barkyj and Nicodrin were thriving from that early pressure. So taking away those early ganks could certainly help buy a little bit more time for the Sunbreakers to really show up. But it looks like the picks in the bottom two are just going to go right the same way.
Yeah, it does. The Cernanos comes out for Reyhum, so Ishtar versus Karn feels like a very season 9 matchup. Somewhere Kingfisher just turned the volume up to watch in for this matchup. I am interested as to what we're going to see come out for the solo lane here for Sunbreakers. We haven't seen Ragemore go super deep in Godpool yet. Still not really a need to go super deep, but I'm interested if it's going to be another assassin or if it's a more traditional warrior and what the response to this Hades is.
Now, the question on my mind is, there's somebody that I don't see anywhere on the screen and did not see anywhere on the previous screen. I don't see Surtur anywhere. Do they not want to play Surtur? Is he not comfortable? Or do they not trust in him?
So that's going to be a heated topic as we get further into week 3 as one of the first full weeks where Surtur has been available. But with everybody getting locked in and everything selected, we'll be right back with game number 2 between Sanctified and Sunbreakers.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone out, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we would make it, but now you're gone. Baby, you're a ghost. I'm caught up in a landslide, mental on the low end. When I used to feel alive, now there's a hole in the city, can't feel shit. Where do I go? 'Cause I know you don't feel this. Can't catch a break for God's sakes. Feel like I'm waking up and I'm caught in a wake. Yeah, I know this is my funeral on parade. I did it to myself 'cause I always thought you would feel the same, and I know you don't. Drunk off the lights of a city, late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone out, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. Let's hit the brakes. I'm pulling out the parachute, jumping out the plane. You had it all in front of you, nothing feels the same. It's crazy what love can do, even crazier when it's not coming back to you. You say you need space, so I gave you all the states. Every night a different place. Used to think we're getting closer, now we're drifting away. And all I can say is that I'm feeling wasted. I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone out, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't.
Hello and welcome to game number 2 between Sanctified and the Sunbreakers in the Divine Division. Will Sanctified get the team play together, or will Sunbreakers run it back? I'm still Anthony Malum, he's still Jeeringlamb. Let's do it!
We've got another really exciting one coming up. The Sunbreakers took the convincing game 1. They fell behind in the early game because the Sanctified really put a lot of early pressure in the solo lane. Will the Sunbreakers be ready for that?
That is going to be the big question. Will Sunbreakers be prepared for any early pressure in solo, or will solo get respected because it's Reyhum? Lancelot and Giant Dog decided they want to brawl in the jungle before they even get to the lane, and barkyj feeling aggressive about it, but does take some poke and has to back out. That was close. That was a close call. Risky fight to take, too.
barkyj very much upset about the last game and not able to get in enough damage, so he said, you know what? I'm just going to run at every single person I see.
Dual lane much calmer than the mid lane this time, but once again we see Koala and Cactus get the pressure in on FullofShrimp, and King of Darkness, and putting them in kind of in a strange spot. Rollout doesn't fully hit King of Darkness, probably by choice. Nice and calm dual lane. We love the boxing here, and I'm excited to see it go later on because Ishtar or Kurnanos is a matchup where you can play around each other and really take some aggressive stances while boxing.
And speaking of boxing, we have solo lane, Nicodrin and Reyhum. This time we don't see an early first blood. We see a Hades with Tainted Steel, and an Achilles with Warding Sigil. There's not going to be a whole lot of death going on over there, I think.
There may be a whole lot of death going on over here just for a shield buff. It's a 6-man party by the shield buff, and somehow everybody's still healthy? And barkyj uses purification beads.
You don't have beads?
I'm trying to think of what could have been the fear there. Maybe it was a pre-beads for the Mercury? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it was a misclick. I think it may have just been barkyj trying to play it safe as they rounded that corner. Now Giant Dog gets pressured out by barkyj, so beads not needed, I guess.
Well, we'll go ahead and chalk it up to the wrong button. That's happened to me more times than I will ever admit to anybody. So you can just assume, or rather, what's the word? Give them benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I like hope, but benefit of a doubt works too. Hope keeps it clean. Benefit of a doubt makes it really feel like you're in their corner. And misclicks are the worst. Special delivery could have been scary there, but it was just such a weird angle. We may never know. So you talked about Sunbreakers needing to respond to lane pressure, and Mercury already making sure that Reyhum gets the blue buff at 3 minutes. The pressure has been non-existent so far, so they've responded well early, but we'll see if Reyhum being on somebody more tanky will be the true response to that.
It could certainly be one solution. Another thing to keep note of is Sanctified in the last game had 71 wards across the board. Sunbreakers had 78. And we all know that wards win games. So maybe this time Sanctified will start warding up a little bit earlier, and that might give them the win.
So you're looking for 79 wards minimum from Sanctified.
That could certainly be one interpretation of it. I mean, I've seen somebody get, I think it was 47 wards in a 28-minute game before. So,
if I, not that I get tilted, but if I get tilted while playing support, one of my go-tos is buying Chalice before the game ends and walking in and out and placing wards around my Titan as the game's ending. That's a classic for me. I always do it as we're losing, just as a little, see you later to my teammates.
Is, you do that regardless. If you know your team's about to end, just buy Chalice anyway.
Ooh, and reset it in their fountain.
Yes.
That's a power move if I've ever seen it.
Yes, maybe that's what Sunbreakers did in the last game, and we just didn't catch it.
Yeah, we did. We didn't see it happen. They were just spamming it out. Cooldown buff goes the way of Neeko, but what strikes me as important is the fact that Reyhum and Neeko are much closer than they were before. Neeko getting the poke advantage in this wave. Going to use Pillar of Agony. Reyhum does have Fatal Strike, but you got to use it to survive. Get silenced. There's the dash, and there's Fatal Strike. Reyhum playing that a little bit too close to the chest there and trying to be greedy with Fatal Strike, and almost paid the price for it.
Ragemore getting extremely low. This is just another example of Hades being an early pressure type of god. Achilles loves to get that early pressure, but when he can't find that level 5 execute with a fatal strike, it really doesn't feel too great, and now Ragemore is paying the price for that.
We saw some aggro onto Evan in mid, but not too much. But now we may see big aggro onto Nico. Special delivery for you, Ragemore. I know you're low, but catch a Hades. Ragemore may not have enough mana to follow up, but is here for moral support. There's the made you look. Nico just trying to survive in the meantime. Ragemore, gotta watch where you're walking, walks into Nico, and Nico gets the first blood for Sanctified. And buying enough time for barkyj to get here. Giant Dog uses Made You Look, doesn't have Made You Look for this fight. Joust comes out, barkyj with the slam down. Purification beads, gonna die to the tower. So a double kill for Giant Dog after Nico delayed long enough for barkyj to get a kill after Nico got a kill on Ragemore.
Beautiful turn of events. We see a 2-2 coming out of the solo lane in the first 5.5 minutes, almost 6. More importantly, Ragemore got the credit for the assist on that kill on a Nicodrin. That's going to be a huge pickup for him, especially considering the fact that he's an Achilles with Soul Eater. He wants to get as much experience in gold as he can.
It's really going to be prevalent this game that we see emphasis on the solo lane, it looks like, as dual lane has been much calmer than game 1. King of Darkness gets very poked out very quickly, but look at Reyhum in the back, just walks into Evan's damage, and it's a kill for the Yu Huang. Sunbreakers takes the kill lead in a very commanding way as Reyhum falls.
I said it earlier, Sanctified is not getting enough awards to be winning this game right now. Sunbreakers might start a little bit of that snowball that they saw last game a little bit earlier this time. Gotta get those words up.
Yu Huang does such sneaky damage. I mean, Flames of the Phoenix came out and I didn't even see the damage coming out. Made you look. Could have stolen green, but they backed away. I love that you can try to save buffs like that, but the gold you lose out on really hurts. Roll out just off the mark on barkyj. That could have really been an opportunity for Evan, but it ends up being nothing. There was also a gank attempt considered by Giant Dog and left that led to nothing there as well. So things are steadying out. Do you see anything build-wise striking you as crazy? I mean, mostly par for the course besides a discrepancy between the mid laners.
I'm looking at this Soul Eater in the solo lane as we see a big fight breaking out in the duo lane.
They timed it perfectly. FullofShrimp takes the portal, and it's enough to evade a basic. The Joust got barkyj out of there. Sunbreakers are interested in looking, but don't quite see any opportunities, so they're going to just head back towards mid. And the fight fizzles. King of Darkness still walking aggressive, gets knocked out of Solar Swing. So Cactus may be a Geb main after this game.
He very well could be, and he does have that ultimate ready, so if anybody gets caught even a little bit out of position, we might just see a Cataclysm turn the fight.
A Cataclysm, I like that. We'll see if it gets used here. A lot of aggro from King of Darkness and FullofShrimp onto the dual lane of Sunbreakers because they've got a rotation coming out from barkyj. He's speeding on the horse, but Sunbreakers knows, and they are disappearing quick. There's that ward coverage Jeering was bringing to your attention before, and there's going to be nothing from the aggression from Sanctified. It's a tough break, but that's what wards do to you. So let's go back to Soul Eater topic, the Soul Eater on the Achilles.
That's an item I have not seen on an Achilles probably since his release. It's been nerfed even more recently, and I, in general, haven't seen Soul Eater on anybody in a while, but especially on an Achilles who really loves to get that extra defense.
So we'll see if that extra defense proves that it could have been beneficial for Ragemore in this Hades matchup, or if the sustain is a good way to compete with the Hades, but I don't think you're competing with the Hades sustain no matter what you do. So maybe it would have been worth considering going, if you wanted to go something more aggressive and something crazy, maybe we could have seen a Brawlers, maybe a Pestilence early, go crazy with it. It's hard to dictate. KoalaMang does get ganked by King of Darkness, but CACTUSARMS is rolling on the way. So FullofShrimp will not even bother walking forward, and things are still shockingly calm after what we saw in game number 1.
Certainly nothing quite as exciting, except for that early skirmish we saw in the solo lane. That was a beautiful double kill for each side. Since then, nothing has really gone too crazy.
Yeah,
Much
it's
calmer.
surprising because it felt game one like these guys couldn't get enough of fighting. Even if the fights weren't leading to kills, a lot of times they're leading to retreats. Maybe part of that is barkyj is playing by force of character, is playing more passive. You don't have the Thor ultimate that's tempting you to go in deep. You've got Joust, which, if you choose to initiate, leaves you with a shield, so you're much safer with it. Neeko getting a bit poked out. Nothing to scream about quite yet. Giant Dog will run into barkyj, does have a level lead, but it's not significant, so I don't suspect to see a big 2v2 brawl unless a big rollout gets hit soon. Nicodrin pushing up a bit far low. Fatal Strike is on the table, so got to play that careful. FullofShrimp getting poked under their tower. barkyj getting poked under the mid tower. Everyone's falling low across the map. Landfall brings in CACTUSARMS. Nicodrin did back up from that fight in solo. Mid lane fight still going on, and Flames of the Phoenix does big poke to Reyhum and King of Darkness. Sonic Boom into the tower. Just stuns King of Darkness. No follow-up to speak of, and Sanctified get to walk away. Wow.
That is 9 out of 10 ultimates in the lobby being dropped. Reyhum, of course, technically doesn't count since it's Merlin, but I'm still going to say it anyways. That is a massive skirmish going on in the mid lane. And luckily for Neeko, Fatal Strike from Ragemar was not quite enough to get the kill on a Nicodrin.
It was close. I was trying to watch both at the same time, but it just ended up not going in the favor of Ragemar. But it's still a big change. You talked about it in picks and bans. We need to see Sunbreakers play the pressure in solo lane better, because Sunbreakers late game was crazy, but early game they could barely compete with Sanctified, and we saw that pay dividends really so far. Reyhum's a bit poked out in mid, and they were aggressing up, but now we've got King of Darkness and barkyj here, and they're looking for Evan. Celestial Flight to get away, so now CACTUSARMS may be the one caught out, and he is. He falls down to barkyj. Evan next up, but does have Flames of the Phoenix and Dragonflight to help out. Giant Dog gets in there deep. Falling low quick. Solar swing off the mark. Evan cleans up barkyj, and now King of Darkness can just walk away after losing the jungler. That's tough to be a support there.
That is a very unfortunate team fight. Giant Dog barely living. Beautiful turnaround from the Sunbreakers. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to throw it to a brief break while the Sanctified lick their wounds and consider their actions.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we would make it, but now you're gone. Baby, you're a ghost. I'm caught up in a landslide, mental on the low end. When I used to feel alive, now there's a hole in the city, can't feel shit. Where do I go? Cause I know you don't feel this. Can't catch a break for God's sakes. Feel like I'm waking up and I'm caught in a wake. Yeah, I know this is my funeral, I'm parade. I did it to myself cause I always thought you would feel the same, and I know you don't. Drunk off the lights of a city, late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. Let's hit the brakes. I'm pulling out the parachute, jumping out the plane. You had it all in front of you, nothing feels the same. It's crazy what love can do, even crazier when it's not coming back to you. You say you need space, so I gave you all the states. Every night a different place. Used to think we're getting close, and now we're drifting away. And all I can say is that I'm feeling wasted. I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. When we were on, I'd always thought we would make it, but now you're gone. Baby, you're a ghost. I'm caught up in a landslide, mental on the low end. When I used to feel alive, now there's a hole in the city, can't feel shit. Where do I go? Cause I know you don't feel this. Can't catch a break for God's sakes. Feel like I'm waking up and I'm caught in a wake. Yeah, I know this is my funeral on parade. I did it to myself cause I always thought you would feel the same, and I know you don't. Drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't. Let's hit the brakes. I'm pulling out the parachute, jumping out the plane. You had it all in front of you, nothing feels the same. It's crazy what love can do, even crazier when it's not coming back to you. You say you need space, so I gave you all the states. Every night a different place. Used to think we're getting closer, now we're drifting away. And all I can say is that I'm feeling wasted. I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't.
Thank you for hanging out with us. We are back, and you did not miss anything but about 2 seconds. And nothing exciting happened at 2 seconds aside from Jeering tapping his keyboard. So we are back. We're ready to go. 13 minutes crosses, and things are pretty close to even 1,000 gold. 500 gold, actually. 1 kill difference. Solo lane pressure has been the story. It's been calm. Gank comes out in solo. Nico rushes it off like it's nothing. Pretty much what Jeering expected.
Very, very even in this game. A lot less pressure leaning to one way or the other. As we see the gold difference, not even 300 right now.
Yeah, oops.
This is a much better adjustment. Sanctified definitely took a look back, said, all right, we got to set up, got to fix this. And, I mean, they're making it work. barkyj is getting active. He's doing a lot of damage. Doing much better than he was last game. Sunbreakers not willing to give up this gold fury for free, though.
Sunbreakers is looking. Gold Fury getting a tested. Blades of Retribution kills 1. Sanctified gets the Gold Fury. What will be the cost? So far, it's been 1 member. Giant Dog goes in looking for barkyj. Made you look, but will not chase further. Reyhum does get caught out, but Giant Dog realizes now he could maybe cut Reyhum off at the tower. No opening for it quite yet. Giant Dog's looking now. Reyhum's got nowhere to go. CACTUSARMS goes in, but Giant Dog is walking away. Reyhum is somehow still alive in all this. Shockwave knocks Reyhum back. Special delivery gets purification beads. Giant Dog just wants this kill, and Koala takes it away and cleans up Reyhum. barkyj goes in on Koala and Evan, but gets forced to back away quickly. They're level 15 and 14 respectfully, so cannot play with that. And thank you for the correction on the golden experience. Jeering, if anyone would correct me, I'm so happy it was you.
Well, it's a good thing I was here for that then. Definitely a very shiny adjustment to make. 500 and 300 at this point in the game really doesn't make a whole lot of a difference, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is nice to know as Sunbreakers pick themselves up a nice Pyromancer, and for the first time, King of Darkness does not manage to steal it with the landfall.
I might have lost it. I'm going to be honest. King of Darkness did it 2 times in game number 1, and it clearly was messing with Sunbreakers after we saw them go crazy on the Pyromancer the 3rd time, avoiding it. So glad they secured it that time. King of Darkness is a menace when it comes to Pyromancers.
That Maui has been an absolute menace all around in this game, and he's got to keep his chin up before that crown ends up falling. He has been an absolute menace to the Sunbreakers, to the Pyromancer. there's just not much that they can do with him around. They know they got to get him away from the backline before they can pull anything off.
Yeah, it's a problem. We saw that King of Darkness became one of the more prioritized picks late game for Sunbreakers last time, and they had to really take it super serious to get King of Darkness away. They stopped caring too much about barkyj. Speaking of barkyj, made the rotation to duo lane, but Koala spotted it out with the help of CACTUSARMS and is plenty safe. Reyhum, bit of danger, not too much. Tower is gone. Giant Dog and Evan both in mid. Walk away. Giant Dog runs into barkyj. Nothing more than a poke fest. Giant Dog still playing a bit up. Gets a major look off. Doesn't hit for more than about 250. And Sunbreakers just can't find an opening, but they're playing really aggressive. So there's definitely a play call on the table for them.
They want to get active, as we see. Koala actually getting extremely active on FullofShrimp. Not able to steal away the purple buff, though.
Yeah, couldn't quite get it away from them. Oh, the rollout gets flickered away from King of Darkness is caught, but plenty tanky and fine. Giant Dog, Sonic Boom pre-charge, going to be off the mark on FullofShrimp, who gets the dash off just in time to survive the gank from the Mercury. And now barkyj is heading over with King of Darkness. The police are on their way, and Koala still push up at the tower. Reyhum survives the damage in mid and will back away under the tower. Giant Dog at the shield buff, but with enough speed, should be okay to get away. barkyj and King of Darkness want to get aggressive on somebody. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Koala. King of Darkness has to make a big play here, but they're not walking up with King of Darkness. Giant Dog now here on the rotation as Sanctified's retreating. CACTUSARMS here to make a play. Drops down low quick. Cataclysm can't even go off before CACTUSARMS falls. Two-man landfall comes out from King of Darkness and brings them in, but FullofShrimp has to use Aegis to try to survive. Dueling Dragons off the mark on barkyj. King of Darkness is trying to back away. barkyj very caught out. Gonna fall down to Evan. Reyhum has rotated here as well, but everybody's dead by the time Reyhum is here as King of Darkness falls down. Koala is finally brought down by FullofShrimp in return, but not before the damage is done. Evan dropping low quick. Nico has rotated as well. Ragemore on cue gets over here. Evan falls down. Double kill for FullofShrimp. Aegis out from Reyhum, blocks a fatal strike. Nico Drin wanted to go in for more, but they just don't quite have it. Just too much damage coming out from both sides that they finally back up after a delayed 5v5 fight and duo, but still not over. They're still waiting around the corner for an opening. The opening may be on Giant Dog. There's a dash in from Nico Drin, but CACTUSARMS has had enough time to go home, get a drink of Gatorade, come back in for the next fight. And they're still going, finally backing up. That's what happens when a solo lane uses teleport, I guess.
That is going to be a good team fight for the Sanctified. They end up getting 3 kills, where the Sunbreakers only managed to get 2. Unfortunately, not able to get any objectives off of it, but Ragemore may be getting caught out by 4 members strong of Sanctified now.
Still hanging out over here, and Shockwave does knock King of Darkness out of the solar swing, but just for the time being, there's the joust that brings everybody down low. Reyhum gets the credit onto CACTUSARMS. barkyj looking for an opening, but can't quite find it. Giant Dog charged Sonic Boom, but it's too low to go in. So Sanctified may have a really good opening here for the Primal Fury. FullofShrimp's back in the fight now as well. Ragemore below half health. Evan and Koala are full. Giant Dog is in mid, way too low to come over. Primal Fury down low. Sunbreakers gets the Primal Fury away from Sanctified despite the health bar difference. They go in on Koala, but everything's off the mark so far. And KoalaMang may be able to get away from this despite 4 chasing. Chase still ensuing. Koala to the safety of the tower. Tower plenty healthy. Shotgun autos did work, but not quite enough work as Nico Drin gets credit for the kill using Pillar of Agony, but not before the steal. And now the Pyromancer going to Sunbreakers. You cannot play it better than what Sunbreakers just did.
They may have stolen away the Gold Fury. They may have lost a member, but they're still going to be walking away with that Pyromancer. King of Darkness was such a menace to them last time that they are not even risking losing the Pyromancer this game. And it's definitely going to be a good play. They're getting some extra money in their pockets. Not enough to make much of a difference. Not even 1,000 difference on the gold lead. But it's still going to be, at the end of the day, a nice pickup for the Sunbreakers to have both of those objectives.
And the shot calling there from Sunbreakers was magnificent. To be able to not just get the steal, but see that they were just tunnel vision going for Koala and say, go Pyro, was fantastic. They maybe could have even... They didn't have Koala, So it would have been tough, but they could have even gotten Fire Giant. They had all the time in the world with the way Sanctified was chasing down KoalaMang.
I think the only problem with that is Giant Dog may not have had quite enough HP to get that Fire Giant. While he does have a lot of damage with those crits, it just may not be quite enough. So it looks like for now, at least, Sanctified will be able to continue farming, but they do need to get those wards up before the Fire Giant ends up getting pulled.
And wards were the big thing you were talking about. 71 to 78, game number 1 so far. Game 2, we've seen plenty. And Sunbreakers, I mean, look in their pockets right now. They're full of sentries and regular wards. They got bombs. They're stacking up. Sunbreakers is playing this well. Reyhum, Flicker, barkyj, Blink from Cactus. Anybody else want to teleport? No, we're just going to joust away from barkyj. Gonna look for an intro, but can't quite find one. Full rotations come out from Sanctified. They're here before Sunbreakers, but doesn't matter. They're not going to take the advantage. And this fight may be an awkward one until Koala can get there for Sunbreakers, so Sanctified needs to push the issue quickly.
Sanctified does still need to be careful. Sunbreakers are a very strong team, and they're not going to be giving anything up for free.
Solar swinging from King of Darkness. CACTUSARMS is falling low quickly. Dueling Dragons comes out as well. King of Darkness gets credit for the kill on to CACTUSARMS. Fatal Strike off the mark on FullofShrimp. Will the Polymorph make the difference? Wild Hunt? Not quite yet. KoalaMang gets a kill on FullofShrimp. Nico Dren falls down to Evan. And now, Sunbreakers, 4-on-3 advantage, and they're still chasing it. Blink in from Giant Dog to find King of Darkness. Reyhum has to get out of there really fast. Use the Flicker, could only drop the Icicles, and watch King of Darkness fall. And now Sunbreakers has an opening for the Fire Giant that they basically forced with brute strength.
That is an absolutely massive play from the Sunbreakers. They lost CACTUSARMS very early in that fight, almost before anything else, but the good news is that was all the ultimates down, and now they're turning this into a massive advantage. barkyj doesn't even have time to joust out of the way of Reyhum, and that's going to be a Fire Giant for the Sunbreakers.
Sunbreakers will get the Fire Giant at 22-38, and they are set and ready to start forcing the issue against Sanctified. They've shown their damage. They've shown their team fight prowess. The shot calling is on point, and Sanctified, even when they play a much better Game 2 than Game 1, still finds themselves on the back foot.
Sanctified has definitely done a good job keeping themselves in a very even game state, but one wrong team fight, just like that one, has really turned the tables. It's now 12-9 kills in favor of the Sunbreakers, and the Sanctified are not feeling too happy about that. They're on the back foot. Sunbreakers have Fire Giant. They're pressing the Scold Fury now, and the Sanctified team really needs to be careful about this next engagement.
This is a scary fight to take, and I don't think you really can contest this Primal Fury.
It's
really
definitely
risky.
not going to be easy, no.
And looks like they're not going to. Sunbreakers takes the Gold Fury for free. Sanctified can just watch. With the Fire Giant buffs online, it isn't EFG. The Gold Fury hurts, but it doesn't put you out of the game. I like the call to just play it safe there. It's not worth dying over at this exact moment. You could probably even look to lightly contest some tier 2s here.
The best thing you can really do is just body block and keep Reyhum safe as he just launches abilities over those walls, or as far as he can, because even with Giant Dog there, you gotta be careful. And you see that Sonic Boom already being charged.
Yeah, Reyhum is the priority at the moment. FullofShrimp's damage is not quite up to par yet with the Merlin. Tier 2 falls in duo lane. Looks like they're going to look to just defend Phoenixes and let the Tier 2 towers fall. And it looks like Sunbreakers may just back up, secure Pyro, then Tier 2s.
They've got one Runic Bomb in hand under Cactus, but right now they're just trying to clear those towers.
They're feeling it. They're going to go in deep. Reyhum plenty tanky to deal with it. King of Darkness is in, but does not create anything. Maybe a miscommunication there as barkyj goes in and King of Darkness goes out. barkyj falls down low and barkyj is gone. FullofShrimp did get a kill on the CACTUSARMS, and Reyhum is also low. Koala's caught out on the side. Sonic Boom flies through. Reyhum deletes Reyhum. FullofShrimp has a double kill onto Koala, but is low and has to back out. Giant Dog plenty healthy, so is Evan. So Sanctified does defend the Tier 2 after all. They just did it in an unconventional way.
It certainly worked out for them. They traded 2 for 3, and that's going to be a massive value just because Sunbreakers no longer has Fire Giant around the belts of those members. sadly, Sanctified does still have to worry about the fact that Mercury and Yu Huang have the Fire Giant, and those are nothing to laugh at.
Yeah, the Mercury and the Yuang are problems this game, certainly. Having it off Koala is big because you don't have to be... You can be like 5% less afraid of the Ishtar at this point. But Sunbreaker is certainly not in a bad spot, but a good defense from Sanctified nonetheless. And I asked you last game, when Sanctified was on the back foot, what do you do? How do you get back in this game? I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you do if you're Sanctified? How can you get back in the game, especially because it looks significantly less gloom than it did in game number 1?
I think Sanctified has really started making progress on that just already, as we saw that team fight very risky, defending a tier 2 tower when the other team has Fire Giant around all 5. That's risky, if nothing else. And they managed to pull it off in a 2-for-3 trade. So Sanctified really is making work. They just got to solidify their team fight and just collect themselves, keep calm, and focus to make sure that their teamfight is as effective as possible.
Sanctified is grouping before Sunbreakers at the Fire Giant. They could pick Evan here, but they've got to do it quickly. Too late already. Sunbreakers is here for the defense, but barkyj goes in, just finds a little bit of poke onto Evan and nothing more. Sanctified now grouped back up. Sunbreakers also grouped, aside from Koala pushing a singular wave out in mid. Sunbreakers may look to push this fight because we've seen it time and time again. 2 straight games, Sunbreakers has these team fights borderline mastered, and Sanctified just has not had an answer.
They certainly did make some good progress under that T2 tower, but now we see Cataclysm coming out really early from Cactus.
FullofShrimp and King of Darkness both took a lot of pokes, so did Reyhum. Ragemore cleans up FullofShrimp. Reyhum is now caught out and falling low. Koala gets a credit there. Pillar of Agony used, but Giant Dog got out of it. Now Sanctified's down 2 members, and they've got to back up, and Sunbreakers didn't even want the Fire Giant. They're going deep. They're going for Nico under the tier 2. They're going to find Nico. Landfall comes out, just brings in Koala, who's got a double kill already. King of Darkness falling low. Giant Dog gets a kill onto the Maui. Now Sunbreakers just have 1 member in front of them. They may look to end the game here. Phoenix dropping low quick. Some pings coming out on fire. So maybe looking to play this a bit differently. They're not going to go for the full end. Maybe they will. They're debating it as much as I am. Sunbreakers will take the smarter of the 2 choices. Go to Fire Giant, but they definitely could have looked to take the 5v1. I don't know about you, Jeering.
The problem is barkyj does still have that joust up, and with Giant Dog being as low as he is, they wanted to be careful. It's definitely safe to say that they had a chance at ending there, but the Sunbreakers opting for the much safer play, secure Fire Giant, back, heal up, spend their gold, and ensure that their next push is going to be even more deadly than the last one.
Only problem comes is if Sunbreakers goes for the next fight, and they falter like they did at tier 2, you just dropped a 5v1 opportunity. Joust was up, like you said, would have been significant, but if this game goes south for Sunbreakers, that's definitely the moment we're going to look back at it and kind of scratch our heads a bit.
Absolutely. It's definitely a risky call no matter what, either way, but the Sunbreakers have certainly held themselves in a good position to really take charge of the gameplay, so making the safer call is at least a good change of pace. The Sunbreakers making sure that they're not just running it down and failing the end call like they did the last game, where they ended up getting forced out of base and even lost the fight.
Very true. And that is the big issue, and then maybe that's something to look at going forward. But we still got a game in our hands, and Sunbreakers is running for the duo lane Phoenix, the smart Phoenix to take, as you may have heard once in a while. They're grouped and Sanctified looking for the defense early, but they only find Ragemore. There goes barkyj in. They do bring it 2 with the landfall. Wild Hunt also hits. Cactus dropping low, but barkyj has fallen down to Evan. FullofShrimp is in execute range, but Ragemore may not even need it because he's got Evan on his side. It's a double kill for the Yu Huang. Sanctified down to 3 members already, and Nico is not healthy currently. Reyhum got caught out and left alone with the Mercury, so Merlin falls too. It is a shutdown kill thanks to the help of the Phoenix, but advantage is still looking Sunbreakers. Koala drops King of Darkness, and Hades may have to return to the underworld. Just buying time at this rate. It's a deicide for Sunbreakers. And that's going to be all she wrote for this set. Sunbreakers has completely gone crazy. They're committing for it. Going close. 10% health. They did it! Sunbreakers wins the set. We'll be right back on the desk to break this down for you.
I could get drunk off the lights of a city. Late night phone calls just to say you miss me, but you don't. No, you don't. Drop my phone now, that shit's broken. 2 a.m. and I'm lost in Brooklyn, missing home. I know you don't.
So, good news, the advantage with just barkyj being alive did not come back to bite Sunbreakers in the behind. They end up taking this set 2-0 pretty convincingly with a few moments of greatness from Sanctified. Walk me through what you saw in that game number 2 compared to game number 1, Jeering.
Sanctified definitely made a much better effort this time. 58 to the 48, or 55, excuse me, to the 48 wards. They definitely made progress in that department, but unfortunately, the team fight just wasn't quite enough. Unfortunately, it ends up being a 2-0 victory, and the Sunbreakers will end up showing a very dominant game here. That experience really coming into play. I really think they got to take a second look at Evan, the big dub, putting out numbers.
Yeah, both games went absolutely ballistic. In Sanctified, like you said, lack of experience as a team, both sets pushed back. That's why you got to get those sets played. If you can't get the sets played, you got to get the scrim in, you got to get the time in. Definitely saw some of that miscommunication come through. By far not the end of the world. They can certainly come back. Like we said, the games are pushed. They got time to get the games back. But, you know, waiting that long to get your games in with your team, you get in on game day, and you lose 2 games like that. Game 2 almost feeling like a heartbreaker in the sense that there were a lot of mistakes from Sunbreakers they could have capitalized on. That's an awkward and tough spot to be in as a team.
Absolutely. They had more wards than the Sunbreakers, so they had the opportunity to win the game. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to bring it all together with each other. barkyj having a much better game than he did in game 1. It just wasn't quite enough to make the difference here. And if anything, Evan made sure to shut them down. Koala, certainly not to be ignored either. Both of those backliners really making sure the Sanctified could not step up anywhere.
Yeah, I think Sunbreakers are currently thriving off of having Ragemore being a disgusting front line, and then the back line, like you said, just being completely unstoppable. But they've got a long way to go. We still got a long season ahead of us. This is still just week 3, week 1, if you're Sanctified. And that was the Divine Division. Thank you for watching. I've been Anthony Malum. I had Jeeringlamb alongside me. Our observer was iNooblet. And we'll see you next time on the Smite Draft League. Join the Discord and the YouTube, and we'll see you soon.